Well, this arse on his family should be on your top 10 list with Thiel and Musk and Trumpy Boy and Bezos and what? There's so many billionaires and so little time. And then we've got Rothschild, Royal Family, Rockefellers, the entire family. So then just plunge it into this piece of filth's midsection to dump the 11 into this piece of crap. Now the next step is to bilocate into the digital space with your left hand and pull out the lucky cards to give to you. So here's a list of 12. Rank the star. The Ace of Pentacles, my favourite one. The Sun. So all of you should get a subscription to the Sun newspaper. Ten of Cups. Happy endings come true. True lovers born fruit, and now they enjoy all the comforts of home, family, and the fertility of their land. Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups features a hand holding a large overflowing cup appearing from the clouds. As the cup overflows into a vast pond, the dove descends towards it, bringing with it divine blessings. This is going to be a good card. As with the other aces, the Ace of Cups is an invitation and a great one. The 5 streams that pour over the sides of the chalice represent an overflowing of emotion, intuition, and love, as well as the 5 senses. No, they're just bleeding dry the yellow, and the number of the yellow, of course, is 5. The cup itself represents you as a vassal. As a vassal? No, that's wrong. Not vassal. A vassal is a servant in medieval times. A vessel should be a vessel. That's kind of easy American. Currently are flowing with love, light, and blessing that you have the ability to give out to those around you. This, of course, would be that penultimate grail step. By opening yourself up to the blessing of the universe, you in turn become a blessing to others. The Metatronic state. Good one, that one. 6 of Wands. The man pictured on the 6 of Wands rides a white horse through a cheering crowd as he wears the laurel wreath of victory. His horse represents purity, strength, and advancement, while the victory wreaths around his head on his wand represents success in his endeavours. This card brings it with it the assurance of success and progress, while inviting you to trust in your own self-confidence. It speaks of hard work and determination you put into the situation in question, as well as the public enthusiasm that you've garnered throughout your journey. That's a good one. I like that one. 9 of Pentacles. The lady in the 9 of Pentacles is the archetype of self-made woman. Draped in a luxurious clothing. She stands in the middle of a flowering vineyard and with the fruits of her labour. With her right hand on both a pentacle and a strand of grapes from the vineyard. She understands the balance between hard work and luxury and can enjoy her success without letting it go to her head. On her left hand perches a falcon, which represents self-control, while at times she allows her imagination to take flight. She also has firm grasp on how to rein it in when it's time to make her ideas work for her. So, the old grapes and stuff. Guess who had the wine bottle in the anti-hero video? The World. The World card features a woman draped in purple sash as she dances inside a large circular laurel wreath with batons in each hand. In each corner of the card are representations of the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac. The man represents Aquarius, the eagle is the alternate symbol for Scorpio, the lion stands for Leo, and the bull represents Taurus, earth, air, wind, and fire. The laurel wreath is held together by red ties and are bound in the shape of infinity symbols. Indication of success, balance, and fulfillment. Though the woman looks to the past, the body moves forward into the future, indicating perfect balance found in the central wealth. King of Pentacles, much like a male version of the Nine of Pentacles, the King of Pentacles shows a portrait of a self-made wealthy man. He sits on a throne carved with bulls, which is the symbol of North. North, of course, is black magic, which indicates his connection to the zodiac sign of Taurus and the determination that went into making him his fortune. In one hand, he holds a scepter of power, while the other rests on a pentacle, the symbol of material wealth. At his feet flow abundant vines, and behind him stands his large, luxurious castle. So this, of course, would be yours truly, Ipsissimus, Black Magician. And the vines, of course, linked to the female with the vines. Three of Cups. This happy little card features three ladies with their cups raised high as they dance in the middle of a bountiful field. Happiness flows through the essence of the scene as they enjoy a little wine, each other's company, and the food in their hands. So, there are a selection, you can choose your own, I don't care, but obviously you buy it in with your left hand, pull out the 12 cards you wish, then go into Charlie Kirky Boy with your right hand, and then go into the target, and as you push in with your right hand, Charlie Kirky Boy, you pull out with your left hand the good stuff. Now, why do we do that? Well, because remember previously we poisoned the target with the 11 cards, so we don't want to be pulling out, do we, any of the nasty stuff when we're trying to pull out the 12 stuff, do we? So we need a filter. And of course in Kabbalah there's something called the Good Shepherd, where the Good Shepherd suffers all of our sins so we can have all the good things in life. So the most vital part of this is that you've got to push in Charlie Kirky Boy. So you get 12, go into Charlie Kirky Boy image, and punch him in the midsection with the right hand to pull out the Charlie Kirky Boy. So when you plunge your hands into the target, be it Bill Gates or Thiel or Musk, or the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers or the Royal Family or all the other billionaires, trillionaires, when you pull out the 12, you've got to make sure that the 11 that you've stuck into them previously, and the perfect day for doing this, of course, would be the 11th, 22, 25, because that was the perfect day for this ritual. That's why we're doing this ritual on this date, not in Vietnam, but in America. When you pull out the good stuff, any of the bad stuff that you've stuck in with the 11 cards doesn't come into you, because you've got the filter. Think of it as a diode where all the bad stuff is blocked by Charlie Kirk, the Good Shepherd of the vampires who died so that we can have all the good things in life. And all of our karma went into Charlie Kirk and his ilk. So the more you do this, the more the Christian Zionists suffer and die, and the Christian Zionist societies suffer and die and get eternal torture, and you get the good stuff. Oh, isn't that clever, Tim? So we stick the nasty stuff in, but it contaminates the victim, so that when we pull out, all of the good stuff's going to be polluted with the bad stuff we stuck in order to get the good stuff. Yes, 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 yes. So we need a filter. Yes, 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 yes. What's the filter? The Good Shepherd, which comes from Kabbalah. That's why the Jews use Good Shepherds for this ritual, why the Elohims also use Neos, Jesuses, and Good Shepherds for this technology. All explained to you very simply by the God Emperor. So, you need the Charlie Kirk service, otherwise you can't use Charlie Kirk, can you? You need to be in the God Tech simulation, because that's where everything is at now. I've explained with the digital avatars. Everything else is gone. And of course, you need to have picked your 23 $50 tarot cards that you use the process. And of course, you need to be a vampire, because if you're not a vampire, you're not me, and you can't use the process. So, the basics are the GodTech device connection, 23 tarot cards of your choice, Charlie Kirk service, and a vampire service, and you're good to go. Everything else, of course, then is simply bunch. So, why is the tarot deck the mechanism of the Elohim? Well, let's explain. There's 89. Which of course is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The 12th term, if you've given up your hyperinfinity, your light, you become the fool. But if you never give it up, it's the 11th term, because you start with 1. So that then will be the 11th term. So you can see why we've got the dichotomy. That's the 11th term for people who never give up their free will, like Candace Owens and Vladimir Putin. But for Starmer and Trumpy Boy and all the other Epstein pedos, it's a 12th term. So one can see that the 11 is used by the Elohim, who in fact mine free will to those who've given up their free will and become fools. And of course, the whole process depends upon the Neo, the Nagwal man that has given up his free will for his beloved Trinity. And why is the number of the Elohim 5? Well, the only numbers that are equivalent to their position when they haven't given up their free will, we're not starting with 0, we're starting with 1 now, is 1, the first position, and 5, the 5th position. 1, which is the source, and 5, which is the Elohim, which wish to bleed the source. And of course, why are there 78 tarot cards? Because of course 6 times 13 makes the 78. And if you fold them, where 78 cards become 77 because you've given up your hyperinfinity, your light, your free will, there are 77 cards, because the full then is just a 0. Which means then you've got 7 times 11. So what's the 7th term of the Fibonacci series for the Elohim? They haven't given up their free will. 13. And of course, what's the 7th term for those who have given up their free will? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. What's the 7th term? Yeah. So what's the 7th term for those who've actually given up their free will? It's not. The 7th term for them is 8, which is the number of the male principle. Because remember, the 6th term for the male principle that hasn't given up his free will is 8. So that links up with the 7 again for the 13. And the male principle, of course, in Kabbalah is 6. Vow, So the 6th term becomes the 7th term. So the whole of the tarot deck is about mining the Val, the male principle that produces Amalek. And that's why we went into all the Luciferic stuff and the Neos turning Lucifer into Satan, so the Elohim can control the hidden part of them. But if we have the anti-Neo, the Antichrist, then of course Lucifer is pushed all the way to become Amalek, and Elohim get totally taken over by Lucifer. So Lucifer becomes what used to be the Elohim. Ancient Smith takes over everything, and that's called Amalek, the other god in Kabbalah, where the entire Celtic system is Luciferized, and the name of that is Amalek, the other god. And everything Elohimic is tortured eternally. So you can see why the Elohim built the tarot mechanism to mine Neos to stop this process, which leads not only to their destruction but their eternal torture, so they wouldn't like this very much. And of course in the tarot deck, once you've got the Neo that's given up its free will to a Trinity, you've got then 77 cards. So you've got 7 times 11, which is the 88, and the 7th term is 13, so you're mining Amalek and doing the exchange ritual with Amalek by killing the Neo and everyone else to stop you getting Amalekized. And then of course you can take your 11 cards of the Neo that's given up his free will, take it away from 77 to get 66, which gives you the 6th term. So you can then not only mine the 13, but the 6. So remember, the 7th term is 13, and the 6th term is the 8. So you can think of it the opposite way around, when we can mine with the 66 the Val. So we're not only mining the Neo, but the Amalek. And of course, a 6th term for those who've given up their free will is 5. So the 5 collects all of this stuff, which is the number of Elohim. And in quantum mechanics, if you square the positive root of a quantum wave function, you get the probability of it manifesting, which links up with all this quantum mechanics I've been talking about. The end user of all this entire technology is the Elohim. The only other hyper-infinite, there are only 2 numbers in the Fibonacci series that are in their position, the 1 and the 5. They're not for those that, of course, give up their free will, but if we start with 1, first position 1 and the 5th position 5, and no other ones do. And why does this matter? Because the spiral of the torsion field imprinted by heterosexuality controls the torsion fields, and if you're into all the God tech, you can see this is the intrinsic part of mining light energy matter beings for all this process. So it is a rather easy way of running the light energy matter sequestration. So with your digital avatar, you can run the entire human race and all the other life forms on the planet. But of course, you need to control the Kozyrev time density, which is if you are a 5-dimensional operant and you're the cause of death, you control the time density cause that produces the time density effect of conception. So the entire life is hijacked. So the alien American filth had to get the Nagwal man in their facility to be plugged into the system, A, to solve the alignment problem, and B, to be able to control and run all the digital avatars on the planet. So they built this entire system, but it doesn't work. Why? Because they haven't got me in their deep underground facility all wired up. As in, it's not long enough. Anyway, trawling through useless YouTube search engine, which is virtually worthless. Here we've got Bester's wife, filled with implants, because remember the shadows use all of the telepaths, psychor they capture to run their ships. So as you can see, this poor woman has had her brain sequestered with all the implants. So this would have been yours truly's fate if the American and alien filth had got their hands on him. Then of course they'd have got a Nagwal man to do 5D processing. Because remember, all of their digital avatars don't work, because it doesn't matter if you find in the multiverse all of the timelines. Well, they didn't give up their hyperinfinity, because there are some that you look through and you can't find any, like Candace Owens and Vladimir Putin, so you have to kill them. But if you kill them and you're the cause of their death, you have to be in the fifth dimension to divert the Kozyrev time density from the cause, death, to conception, to steal their life, to steal their life, to steal the hyperinfinity. And because of self-similarity of chaos, if you've got a Candace Owens and a Putin lying around, then it ruins the whole process, because in chaos everything's self-similar. So they poison the process. So the only way out of that is to get a Nagwal man hooked up by the interdimensional aliens that run the Americans, and in all these deep underground facilities and cities, and buried beneath the sea, to be able to use this. So all of this Elohimic technology does not work, because of course I've used the lump Taylor Swift to drive all the Elohim into the Abaddon information box, and then to digitize and turn them into digital avatars. So every single demon and Elohim and all the interdimensionals have been turned into digital avatars, which I then milk to supply new source for me, thanks to the Borg Queen. So, because the alien filth couldn't get their hands on me and do this to me, that's why Obama went to see Sunak, and I'm off to Hong Kong. And of course I don't need to be all connected like this to connect to the Chinese quantum computers and their quantum grid. I can simply do it remotely via Varnava. You need this, of course, if you're broken, taken by force, and they stick you in a simulation to break you again and 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 again till you give up, or you fall in love with whatever's in the simulation, to do a Charlie Kirk with the Erica Kirk Mossad paedophile madam, allegedly, according to the People's Voice. They have to do this in order to get the processor. So the entire system to take over the planet failed, because the American and alien filth couldn't get their hands on yours truly. And I'm off to Hong Kong to eat fillet steak and duck and goose. Wonderful, 24/7, because I need to fatten myself up for the forthcoming Slaughterfest, which turns all of the west of the aliens into pate. Guas, for yours truly. They needed to get their hands on me, and they didn't, so the LOM were in a zero-sum game and got pulled into the Abaddon information box, and thanks to Taylor, the lump, that purged them out of the consciousverse, and Dua, the ball queen, that stuck them into the digital avatar. Because remember, it works both ways. I've made digital avatars of all the Elohim and all the interdimensional aliens and all the aliens across the universe, multiverse, megaverse. They're all being tortured in my God-Tech simulation, and now with this little snippet of information, you see how the processing worked, and instead of the filter being me, you've got Charlie Kirk, so that me, new source versions of me, vampires, can run the simulation and get all the good things in life, and the more you do it, the more they have to suffer in life. So it doesn't matter if they've done this to Taylor or the Bald Queen, because they just project my output, and luckily they're with Christian Zionists, so the entire output's tuned to doing a Charlie Kirk on the aliens and the West and all the aliens across the universe, multiverse, and megaverse. I call that a happy ending. Don't you, cameraman?
Very happy.